Hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another paranormal podcast. This is the Bigfoot edition. My name is Matt Harvey. I'm your host. I'm also the lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal and also the founder of Deep Woods Paranormal. Just a little bit of background on me in case you don't know who I am or this is your first podcast. We do have several other podcasts. I think we're getting close to 70 now that we've done in the last year. So, just a little bit more information. We do a podcast every Monday. That's just a regular podcast where essentially we talk about anything paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, not so much Bigfoot anymore, but UFOs, ghosts, haunted locations, demons, current cases, if we can talk about them, because we can't talk about cases that are private in people's homes and stuff. We don't really discuss that too often. And then, anything else, dog man, crypto creatures, we research it all. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of talk about Bigfoot and the Sam Houston National Forest. This is an area that seems to have a lot of sightings. My guess, here, let me share the screen with you guys. Okay. So this is the Sam Houston National Forest where I'm circling this whole area, this whole chunk of land. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see, here's Houston down here. So this is the area here, this section here. And then, of course, you see all those blue dots. They just extend from this area all the way across into Louisiana. One thing I want to talk about are different areas. So along this area, everywhere you see a blue dot is a place that we pretty much have investigated. I think this is actually a place. Yeah, this is somewhere I want to check out. Let's actually just take a peek at this area. I have not done this yet, so we'll do this with you guys. Oh, no. You can't drop a guy there. Okay. Hey. Let me drop a guy here? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that won't let me zoom in on that. Let me see if I can drop the guy. I think we're right here. Nope. Wow. Here, we'll drop him here. No? Okay. So this is an area, this is like a clearing in the middle of a huge forested area. Why I picked this location, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is an area somebody mentioned to me, and they probably sent me the coordinates of where they've had a Bigfoot sighting. But it's definitely an area I want to check out. Let's see what's around this area. Since we can't zoom in, looks like a bunch of roads. There's a creek over here. So, and it looks like, okay, is there any easy walking path? So here comes the creek, which is an easy walking path if we can zoom in on it. Oh yeah, there's the creek. That'd be super easy for them to walk along. Let's go out just a tad because I want to go back to my spot. And I want to see if there's any direct path maybe into it. Let's see, because there looks like there's a line coming almost straight across here. I don't know if this is just the way the Google Maps essentially looks. It looks like it's kind of open. I'm wondering if the creek continues into that. So here's the creek. Here's like a pathway. There's lots of pathways. If you look through here, see all these streaks coming down. If you're listening to the podcast on the audio, I apologize. We are looking at the Sam Houston National Forest. This is next to West Sandy Creek. And let me see. It's kind of an area between 208H and 208A. And there's a road that comes straight up here. I don't know, that's not labeled. But it comes right through there. And it's just a big open clearing area. It doesn't look like a campsite. Looks like a old logging area. Looks like they came through and did some logging. That looks like an old lay down tree. So the only reason I think a Bigfoot would probably be in this area was maybe they're cutting through. They saw an open area where they could walk through. There isn't very much, there's no population around here that I can see. There's no towns, no little cities, not even a little anything in this area. Let's zoom over here. What's this? So this is one of the hiking trails. Just wondering if there's some kind of water source over here that would make this interesting for a Bigfoot. This to me almost looks like it was a pond at one point, and then as it dried up, people kind of have moved in here. Maybe they camp here or hike into here and camp. I don't know. What's up here? Another road. Lots of little single lane highway roads up here. And then of course you got the main road here. So yeah, that could be a cool little area. This looks like, no, never mind. Oh, look at that. Look at what goes right there. That's interesting. Okay. So if you're watching this podcast, you're probably seeing me move the cursor around and go, that looks interesting. Yes, that looks interesting. What the hell is that? That's kind of a secret I have. I'm not going to talk about what that is. If you're looking at the video, you're going, oh, okay, I get it. But I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to give away something I think might actually be like the answer to finding Bigfoots. But yeah, I mean, with this here, that explains quite a bit of why Bigfoot could be in this general area. And then the creek over here, this basically just gives them a water source, maybe a food source, maybe deer coming down into this area. So it would be probably pretty thick, I'd imagine, this area over here. There was probably a sighting. I would imagine, I think there was a sighting along this road here. And that's probably why I have that bookmarked. Okay. So let's cruise out of here and let's get back into the Sam Houston National Forest. All right. So if you're looking at this, you're seeing all these little pins. Again, they go all the way across to Louisiana and stuff. This, let's just do this. Okay. So from Dallas to Houston, if you drew like a diagonal line, and we're only going to talk about Texas at this point, but if you drew like a diagonal line from the ocean just up past Houston, that would be an area. Oops, we lost something here. Hold on. Let's go back to layers. All right. So from Houston up to Fort Worth, pretty much, and across here to the Texas-Oklahoma border, this side of Texas has a lot more reports than the west side of Texas does. Now, that's not to say there aren't Bigfoots in the rest of Texas. They could be anywhere. All you have to do is essentially go out and look for them. Okay, so we were talking about the Sam Houston National Forest. Okay, so you guys see, if you're watching, you can see my circling the cursor. This whole section from Richards down to Montgomery, Lake Conroe, Waverly, Cap Royal, Point Blank, Riverside, Trinity, and then coming back down to Arizona, Huntsville, and then Shiro. This essentially, this area, this big chunk here, makes up the Sam Houston National Forest. Still think I'm in California for some weird reason. Okay, so we looked at that one location. I want to look at, here's Stubblefield Lake. Now I'm hearing there's a lot of reports of Bigfoot activity in this area. Let's see if we can actually go. There's a Bigfoot sighting here. Okay. Let me see if I can get a pin dropped into that location. We can take a look at what's going on down there. All right, let's see if the little guy go down here. Nope. It's like, nope. What is up with Google? Google, you're being mean. Okay. No. Okay, so we're not going to get a visual look for some reason. Nope, he just will not go anywhere on this map. So again, when we research Bigfoot, we're out in the forest in the middle of nowhere. So it explains why this pen just won't go. This little guy won't go anywhere, because we're not really in an area where you're gonna be looking most of the time for anything. So it looks like if we're in the Stubblefield Lake Recreation Area. Okay, so to the right here, right next to Stubblefield Lake Road is where we're looking. Let me see if I can drop a pin on top of that. Oh, this Google Maps does not like me. All right, so this is a pretty good size. Whoa, look at how big that is. This is a big lake. Wow. And this goes on for a long way. Is that no, that's Lake Conroe. Okay, so it looks like it spills into Lake Conroe. This is all one big area. Wow. Okay. Let me get back up here to where I was. Stubblefield Lake Recreational Area. Now you're saying, okay, well, why would a Bigfoot be here? Well, let's see. Looks like there's some human activity out here. Yeah, it looks like a yurt. But this might be a place where they're coming across, maybe not necessarily in this area where the campground is, but they're probably over on the other side. I imagine this whole terrain out here, I mean, this is probably thick. I know it looks small from here, but this is just a thick area. I mean, we've been out next to the Colorado River and seen Bigfoots, and I believe they just swam across to the side to get away from us. Sounded like it, or they threw a huge rock in and made a huge plunk. All right. So yeah, this would be a good area. This looks like it's pretty secluded. Supposedly Bigfoots know how to swim, and I've never seen one do it. I've heard witnesses talk about it. I've never actually seen them do it, so just bear with me. This would definitely be an area I would love to take a boat out and go around this whole area and check out, because I think this is going to be super secluded. I would imagine there's not much human interactions over here. I mean, I imagine that they're just hanging out and doing their thing. There's probably deer in here somewhere, probably fish and stuff like that. And when you get a recreational area like this, maybe they're coming across down into here, and maybe they're coming across. Maybe they're coming across the lake here or whatever. They're coming across this area in the lake here on the very top. There's a lot of like channels and fingers that kind of go up towards this road here. This is Stubblefield Lake Road, and I can see there's a bridge over the top of it. But I would imagine when we're looking at Stubblefield Lake Recreation Area, they could be in this general area. If you look where the waterways go up into here, if you want to check this out when you're not listening audio, go look up Stubblefield Lake Recreation Area in Texas. This is a part of the Sam Houston National Forest, excuse me. And what I'm thinking is that they essentially come through here and maybe cross across. Now, let me look and see. All I see is a lake. The reason I'm zooming in and out here is I'm looking for something specific. So this goes down. Oh, okay. Yeah, this all makes sense now. I don't know if that's water. No, that's the, okay. Yeah. So this comes across here. Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. That goes towards my theory as well. One of these days, I'll share this theory with you guys until I am able to either prove it's correct or disprove it. I don't want to talk about it. It's a hypothesis at this point, but no, it's a pretty strong hypothesis. Okay. And like I said, I'll go into that another time. So yeah, definitely Stubblefield Lake. I know there's lots of reports up here. I've heard a lot of people talk about this area where they've seen them. They just come right through into camp in the middle of the night, probably foraging, and probably, oh, humans were here. They probably left something, or their coolers have been left out, or whatever. They're just looking for food, or maybe they're just curious about what you're doing. So this would definitely be a good area to come check out for sure. All right, so let's see. Let's pull back out here. Let's look another area down here. Now this is down by Lake Conroe. Okay, Lone Star Trailhead. Okay, so this is right off the 274. It's right next to Lone Star Hiking Trail. And essentially what there is there's a road that comes up kind of into the middle of the forest. It says trailhead number 6. So here's another area. Let's see. This is right next to the lake. And yeah, I mean, I can see them being in this area. Again, if I'm looking around at it's this specific area, there isn't like any campsites. There's a lot of thick forest in this area. Probably hogs and deer in this area. I would imagine there's probably a lot of them. Here in Texas, we have a lot of deer. So I'm just wondering if we can drop this little guy in here. Will you let me put him here? Oh, wow. All right. So Google Maps has finally allowed us to drop this little guy down into these area. Oh yeah, this is super thick. If you're watching on the video, you can see this video podcast. Oh wow. Yep. This is super thick. This is the kind of area you walk into, and if you don't know what you're doing or don't know how to get back, you're going to get lost real easy. Let's see. Oh yeah. I mean, if you're watching the video podcast, I mean, there could be a Bigfoot out in this area anywhere around here, and you wouldn't even know they're there. Even if you had thermal, they can pretty much hide behind trees or whatever. Let's see. Yeah, this is just very thick. Very, very thick. This would be a great place for Bigfoot to be hanging out, cruising by. I would imagine there's not a lot of people that come down to this area. And if they do, they're probably just day hikers. They're probably not out at night. There's a theory that Bigfoots are more nocturnal. I don't know if I believe that's true or not. I think that they are active a lot. I think they're active during the day, and I think they're active during the night. I think they may hunt deer more at night, but I think they still move around during the day. And they're a lot more elusive during the day. What is that? I can't zoom any more on that. That's interesting. There appears to be something on the side of that tree that's not the same color as that tree. It's brownish, blackish. If you're watching the podcast, you can probably see this. That's very interesting. I'd like to hopefully crop that in and just take that section out and see what it looks like. Problem is that Bigfoots look like trees. They know how to look like trees. That's something they've probably been doing their whole lives. It's something that they've learned to mimic. They mimic things. They're smart. They mimic things all the time. They mimic birds. They mimic coyotes. They mimic all kinds of forest animals. And they can also possibly mimic us. And then, of course, everybody's heard the Ohio screams and stuff like that. We've caught stuff like that. With god awful owl. Here's another weird looking thing. Now, again, this is so far away and so hard to see. But yeah, because of the audio podcast, I don't want to spend too much time on this. All right, let's cruise back out of here. Let's see if we can get out of here. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is an area we've been told we should go check out. One of these days, we're going to get down to this area. You know, Lake Conroe is also seems to be a hot spot. My wife and I were driving down towards Lake Conroe. What's this? That's Kelly's Pond. Okay, so here's Kelly's Pond. Let me show you guys a visual of this. Oops. Okay, so Kelly's Pond is a campground. It's, again, in the Sam Houston National Forest. There's a couple of small ponds. There's fish in there and there's other stuff. There's other wildlife around here. It's right next to Kelly Branch, Kearney Creek. So there's another water source over here as well. This water is not clean at all. It's very, very dirty. It is not moving. It's basically stagnant. And I wouldn't drink out of it. I mean, even if I could filter the hell out of it and then strain, filter it, and then boil it, I don't know if I'd still want to drink it. It's just that nasty of water. So I wouldn't imagine a Bigfoot, unless they have some kind of something with their stomachs where they can digest stuff or drink water that's contaminated and not pick up those parasites or whatever and make them sick. I would imagine they're probably coming over here to like Kearney Creek, something that's running. This might be, I have to do some research on this, but Kearney Creek might actually be a freshwater creek, where by freshwater I mean a freshwater spring creek, basically meaning water's coming up through the ground and then creating a stream where it's basically just coming up enough to go down the way here. Yeah, so I mean these places, it sounds like, oh, you can hop in your car and just drive down to these places. Kelly's Pond you can, but from Kelly's Pond to Kelly's Branch or Kearney Creek, this is miles and miles and miles of hiking through unforgiving brush and bushwhacking and stuff like this. This is probably a couple-day trip just to get to the creek down here, at least for us. So, I mean, if you were trekking from Kelly's Pond over here to Kelly's Branch, it would probably be cool. But I mean, the thick undergrowth and all that stuff would be really hard to get through. And a lot of the forest out here is very thorny. There's poison ivy, there's stinging lintel. There's all kinds of things that you have to watch out for, even if you're fully, long pants, long shirt, and you're covering your face and all that stuff to try and keep all the crap off of you. It's still going to be difficult. That's why the Bigfoots love it out here, because they can just cruise through without having too many issues, I would imagine. But for us, it's a way harder thing to do. All right, so let's look at Kelly's Pond and see why this might be so interesting for them. Nope, it's not going to let me drop the pen. I'm going to drop it here. No, of course not. All right, well, that's okay because I pulled up Kelly's Pond. All right, so this is what Kelly's Pond looks like if we're looking at it from the campsite. People come down here a lot. This is a very well-used campsite. There are Bigfoot reports in this area. We've talked to other Bigfooters that were camping here, and they essentially told us that there's just Bigfoot throughout the whole Sam Houston National Forest. You can see them anywhere. We didn't camp here that night, but we went down through here. We flew the drone. There's a video of this. And we essentially hiked from behind the outhouse here, We hiked all along the back of this forest around the ponds. There's two of them. And we didn't experience anything. Of course, we were out there in the middle of the day with, other people around. I would imagine if a Bigfoot was out there, it wouldn't be in that immediate vicinity. They could come in at night more than likely. That's what I'm thinking. This area is, I would imagine this place at night is a lot different than it is during the day. There's a lot of paths on the back side of this creek where the path is, where there's game trails all through here. And I would imagine at night, you'd probably experience quite a lot. Maybe not Bigfoots, but you'd experience a lot of animal activity probably through this area. One of these days, I'm going to come down here and leave trail cams somewhere where people can't quite see them and along those game trails to see if I can document anything coming in and leave them for a week or whatever. But this area you can see is very forested, and these are basically just open campsites here. You can pull in, you can see somebody has a tent here if you're watching this. But Kelly's Pond is known for Bigfoots. Bigfoots in the Sam Houston National Forest don't really seem to care if they're seen by people. There's been a lot of Bigfoot researchers through Sam Houston National Forest. So I believe that the Bigfoots are just used to hearing people and stuff like that. So they're used to people. They kind of know to avoid us, which is probably a good thing for them. And they don't really disturb people that much. But when they do run into people, a lot of the times I'm hearing they're pretty aggressive. They, throw things, they scream, they do tree knocks, and then essentially they move on. So this whole area is very thicketed. It's a big thicket, and there's not a lot out here. So I'm going to spin this back around real slow for you guys. If you want to check out Kelly's Pond, just do a Google search for it. It's Kelly's Pond in Texas. That is not our vehicle. So yeah, the back portion of this pond area, I think could be a good area for Bigfoot to be. Definitely a place I would check out. Let's go back to the maps. We'll do one more and then we'll call this a night because I have to get ready for an investigation tomorrow night. So we looked here, we looked, where's that other? Here. So essentially in these areas, there's all these clusters of sightings. And down here, Little Lake Creek Wilderness area, there's sightings there. There's sightings. This also doesn't have a name. These are all coordinates that I've put in. Probably Stubblefield Lake Recreation Area. We just talked about that. And again, another place where basically I put just a pen. All right, let's look at this area here. Oh, wow. No, there's no lake there. I don't know why it's showing a lake. All right, let's close this out. Okay. So looks like there's a couple Bigfoot reports, Bigfoot sightings in this area. It's showing some kind of lake, but there's nothing there. And this is not going to be able to zoom in. Okay, so somebody must have been out here hiking. Okay, so it looks like there's some kind of a trail that comes in off the road and comes up here to the left and then kind of hooks around and then heads back north up towards where the sighting was. Now, this person or persons that saw the Bigfoot in this area, I would imagine they were probably off trail. Probably, I don't know what the distance of this is. I don't have that measurement tool on here right now, but I would imagine it's at least a quarter of a mile, half mile away from just this little clearing area. I don't think this is a road. This might be a where the rangers and stuff go, but you're not allowed to go. There's a lot of paths for fire trucks and stuff like that, because it does look like there's a road or some kind of something that goes through. Here's another one. That definitely looks like a road to me. So yeah, I mean, a lot of fallen trees. So yeah, this area definitely, I can see why it would be a Bigfoot area. And then there's these weird spots off to the side. Looks like they've done some clearing. They've cleared. Oh yeah, they've done some clearing over here. The problem is that these forests get bark beetles, and it kills a lot of the pine trees. And because they don't want to have a massive fire on their hands, they go through and thin out the trees, which is good for the trees actually. And then they go back and replant it after they've cleared it. They do a brush fire or whatever to try and clear that out. They're not necessarily trying to clear. God, I can't talk. They're not trying to necessarily kill the trees. They're just trying to clear out some of that underbrush, that thicket, because when that stuff goes up, it's just like a tinderbox, especially with it being as dry as it is now. But yeah, so this must be an area where I'm almost wondering if this is supposed to be down here. But I would imagine somebody probably was hiking off trail, maybe went up this way, following some game trails. Looks like there's two markers here. In fact, Amanda and I might have been over in this area, and this might have been the spot that we saw that Bigfoot run by. So yeah, I mean, this is a good area here. Looks like there's a lot of game trails through here, but there's not really a water source anywhere close by. So again, this is a big, thick area of forest. So excuse me as I bounce this thing around. I don't see any rivers in this area. Oh, but I do see this. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, that might explain that report. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine it was probably just maybe it was coming down this way, ended up over here, and then continued down. A lot of these sightings are pretty close together, but usually when you have sightings, they're usually near a water, they're near some kind of water source. There's some water sources over here, but this looks to be somebody's home, and they probably created this pond here. And there's a couple more little ponds in here, but they've cleared a lot of the forest out of here. So this is not, unless it's walking through here at night, it's going to have a harder time camoing itself or hiding, if you will. There's a lot more other places it could go. Just trying to see if I can find a creek or something coming through here. Nope, I do not see any other water sources in this area. The only thing I see is, this is one thing I keep looking at. And again, I apologize for kind of teasing you with that, but I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to give that out. And then all of a sudden, everybody's doing the same thing as me. So, yeah. So, yeah, the Sam Houston National Forest, I mean, it's a healthy environment for them. There are homes and stuff, cabins, not homes. They're hunting cabins and stuff like that. But a lot of the time, those places are empty except for like 1 or 2 months out of the year. So there's not a lot of humans in this whole area here. And I imagine that the Bigfoots were somewhere out towards, they could have been out another area, but you have a pretty good sized cluster of reports, and this is not even all of them. I mean, I imagine if you had every report for the last, let's say, 50, 60 years, there would be a heck of a lot more blue dots in here. This yellow dot also could be, no, this is something I just pinned. But yeah, I mean, this is Montgomery, Texas, also known to have some Bigfoot reports. But mainly the Sam Houston National Forest is one of the areas where there's a lot of activity. this is a massive location. I mean, you're talking. I mean, if you circle this area all the way over to the lake over here, it's got to be 300 or 400 miles by maybe 200 miles. It's a big area, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres of untapped, uh, excuse me, untapped wilderness. People aren't able to really build in there. What happened was back during the Civil War, maybe their family, or before the Civil War, before it became the Sam Houston National Forest, people had rights to that land, and they still live there, or they passed down through generations or whatever. And so there are some people that still live there. A lot of these locations are essentially just a lot of the areas where there's in the forest where there's actually homes are just places where there's hunting camps now and other stuff like that. So I would say definitely a good place. We'll be checking out more locations. Oh, also, we'll be doing more Bigfoot research here in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. Right now, Texas is our area is going to be in the hundreds during the day, in the high 80s, low 90s at night. And then add in, a whole bunch of humidity. It's going to feel like it's 100 degrees out, even 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's really hard for us to get out into this hot weather and do any research. Also, there's the fact that the Bigfoots don't really move around a lot. It seems like in the heat, they do still hunt, I'm sure, and they still do all that stuff, but they're probably not moving around nearly as much as they do in the spring or the fall or even the winter, maybe. So, yeah, Sam Houston National Forest. If you're ever in this area, it has 2 sections. It has this bottom section, and then it has the upper section up here to the north, closer to Huntsville. That area, we talked about Huntsville, I think, already, but this area is very active up here. This area, let me see what in here. Over by Hightower Cemetery. I mean, there's now a housing complex in here, but there's Huntsville State Park, and Huntsville State Park, and maybe we'll talk about that next time, has at least 2 sightings that I can see. What I'll do is I'll do some research and look up Huntsville State Park and see if there's any more information. There's also another one over here, Fort Notch Loop Trail, and this is just east towards Louisiana of Huntsville. And so, yeah, I mean, but that's right in the Sam Houston National Forest. So that whole area is just a hot spot for it. It's kind of actually divided up in 3 sections. So there's a section up here to the east. There's a section kind of in the middle. It's a little smaller. And then the bottom section down here by Lake Conroe and Richards and New Waverly is a good spot for Bigfoots. I would imagine they probably, as people kind of come into their area, I would imagine they've kind of pulled themselves back into the more forested areas and they stay more secluded, but they're a little aggressive towards humans. The Sam Houston National Forest is a place where a lot of people go deer hunting. And so I would imagine they're probably competing with the humans for food at that point. Anyways, guys, we're going to wrap this up. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm going to switch back to my normal screen. Okay, I don't want to share that. Anyways, all right, guys. So thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate you. If you'll do us a favor, like this podcast, we appreciate it. If you're on our YouTube channel watching this, please like and subscribe. and hit that notification bell, because we are updating videos quite a bit. We're trying to get to the point where we're posting daily on our YouTube channel. So, but Amanda's going to be coming out with her podcast. It was supposed to go out on Wednesday. For some reason, it just didn't get posted. We've been severely busy, she and I, just nonstop between our jobs and other things going on. I imagine everybody's probably doing the same thing that we're doing, just bouncing around like ping pong balls. But yeah, so there'll definitely be some more Bigfoot research coming. I know everybody's on our YouTube channels like, when are you going out to Bigfoot hunt? Can we come with you? And yes, if you're in our area or you're willing to drive down to an area where we're going to be investigating, yes, you can definitely come out with us. We'll probably want to meet you beforehand, but yes, we do allow other teams, other people who are interested in Bigfoot to come out with us. It's always fun to meet new people and learn new things from other people. So, all right, guys, you guys have a great night, and we'll catch you on the next one.